Fala, gurizada do FMRNathan. Bom, hoje eu trago pra vocês uma entrevista que foi publicada dia 14 no canal da Treyarch, que foi realizada pelo Craig Houston, que é basicamente o cara que fez a história Zombies junto com o Jason Blanda e o Zinlinski lá desde o começo. E aí ele entrevistando os 4 dubladores, né, os voice actors originais lá dos Estados Unidos, do Richthofen, Dempsey, Takeo e Nikolai. O nome é Retrospectiva Zombies com o voice cast do Aether. E, mano, achei muito legal assistir inteiro, 30 minutos de entrevista, e eu falei, por que não legendar? Vai demorar um pouquinho, mas acho que vai valer a pena, e eu gostei muito, acho que todo mundo merece ver isso aí, velho. Então, se puder dar um like pra dar aquele apoio, eu agradeço muito. Aproveita a entrevista aí que ficou muito foda.
Hello, I'm Craig Houston, lead writer at Treyarch, and welcome to our very special video today where I'm going to introduce you to some exciting guests. We have Steve Blum.
Hoorah!
We have Nolan North.
Hello.
We have Tom Kane.
Hi.
And Fred Tatasciore.
Hey, where is my vodka?
So, if it wasn't already clear, this is our wonderful Primus and Ultimus voice cast that we have enjoyed spending time with for the last 10 years. So guys, thanks for coming. I think we should just move through a little bit chronologically. The early days, World at War, over 10 years ago. Steve, I believe you might have been one of our first generic Marines, and we quickly discovered that you couldn't tell who was who. Guys, any memories of those very early days and what it was like trying to find these characters?
It was such a long time ago.
I know.
I know.
I don't think I actually spoke. Everything was yelled back then.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, honey, I'm home.
That's where we started.
We were really rowdy. I remember I was as drunk as I could be. It was like crazy.
Those were the early defining characteristics. And at that point, the characters, it was mostly really just gameplay lines. They weren't really that invested in the story, correct?
And Maxis for me was a big thing because then I started to understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something that we'll definitely need to talk about a little bit later because you're not just your regular characters and their various incarnations. But, you know, by the end of World at War, we'd really established you guys as a fun little crew. And we went into Black Ops 1, where things went a bit crazy. Do you remember getting the Earth blown up?
Yeah, the Earth. Yeah.
Blown
up. Yeah, absolutely. I just remember that Dr. Richthofen had, you kind of, I don't know, they took me off the leash, so to speak, where I was able to just turn him into
a deviant.
A deviant. Yeah. I think there were a lot of people who had a few of my lines as their outgoing voice messages, ringtones.
Still.
And I remember there were some lines that didn't make the game that I think Treyarch and Activision employees were using.
There have been some pretty strange ad-libs along the way. But again, just starting at the beginning, you know, your characters then, they were fairly straightforward, shall we say. Yes. Tom, particularly you, Takeo, what was Takeo like in the early days?
Well, very cartoony.
I think that's the important thing to remember about Takeo is that everyone's character was kind of treated with the same broad strokes at the beginning.
In the beginning.
I mean, the idea of a drunk Russian, Fred, did that come easy to you?
It was very easy. It's like method, but no, it was broad strokes, and I remember we were going a little more for the comedy too.
Yep.
You know, that was a big part of it.
I think that was also a really big part of why Dempsey became so popular early on. He had a lot of the kind of, as well as badass lines, he had a lot of goofy, funny ones, you know, things about even a blind squirrel is right twice a day. Things it made
Americanism stuff that made no sense at all.
Didn't make
but that's your fault. That's not
somehow it worked.
I think the one that people probably remember most from Dempsey is when he broke the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And addressed the player directly.
Drop the chips. What was it? Hey, player, drop the chips and give me some ammo.
That's the one. That one's still good.
Really?
You know, when we go to conventions and stuff, people still go, that's my favourite line. And I go, so we've not done anything better in 10 years.
You have peaked, but it's okay. It's okay.
So we went through those early days of World at War and Black Ops 1 and the Earth got a bit blown up. And you guys went on a slight hiatus. We had a different crew running around on the Broken World, although Richthofen was still around talking into the head of poor Samuel Storinger.
That's right, because I need the work.
And
it was
Fred
very
is
nice that you would let me come and get in Sammy's head.
Yeah.
and you stayed there for a long time.
Yes, I did.
Of course.
You're still there, actually. And Fred, obviously, you mentioned earlier, you were Max's. He was part of that story through Black Ops 2.
He's like the Renfield that got away. You know, my little assistant who just was like, why is he so stupid? Why is he doing this? Yeah, and it was frustrating for Max.
Well, that kind of leads us into what we now know as Primus, because towards the end of Black Ops 2, we brought you guys back, but we brought you back in a different way because you were in Origins and you were in World War I and you were dealing with giant robots and crazy stuff. But
Like
all
you do.
of you guys, we just tried to ground you a little bit more and try and give you a little bit more personality. Do you want to each talk about that shift from crazy to more serious? Start with you, Steve.
It was nice having 30% more brain cells. That was,
Tell me
I
about it.
almost understood what I was talking about. It was,
Yeah.
it allowed for a little more nuance instead of everything being out here all the time. I got to actually pull it in and have real conversations. And
That was a
my
big
throat
part.
thanks you for that.
Yeah, I think we are all grateful that we don't need to shout at the same level
Yeah.
consistently.
I loved it because it was, he was, to me, he was so zany and over the top.
Yeah.
And to actually bring him back to something real. It's almost like the cartoon version, the real life version of what was cartoony came out. And some really interesting material and which led to some great moments.
I think part of it was definitely a struggle for you at the beginning because you enjoyed being so insane. But I think what happened is particularly with the grounded Richtofen, you started to feel the kind of weight of the world on his shoulders, and I think you empathized with him in a different way.
Yeah, and I think if you're playing that same note of the zany I think that would just tire on people.
But it did make me hate myself for loving you.
Tom, Takio, as we mentioned earlier, started off very much as a bit of a cartoon.
It's been just really gratifying, actually, to see how all of these things have evolved. I mean, just reading their lines, and just reading the scripts, I'm like, you can see it as time has gone by. That suddenly he's likable. There's this.
Well, don't go too
He has. Well, but I mean, but I mean,
about Richtofen.
No. But yeah, I mean, and Takio, in many ways, I think, did evolve at least as much, maybe more so than some of the other characters, because he was so cartoony. I mean, it is same with you, but where he is now, he's a person.
Yeah.
He's got depth and he's got emotions and he's,
Just saying, Dr. Monty once said, the order in which you experience things isn't necessarily the order in which they happen, which is definitely true of our story.
This game,
There you go.
Fred,
more than ever.
just to go with the differences, we made Nikolai stop drinking, really, when we made him into Primus, so that was
Absolutely.
big change.
Yeah, it was.
You made Fred stop drinking. So.
No, that was both was hard, but I tell you, what I loved is just seeing how the characters became who they were. So for me, if it's drunk Nikolai is crazy, by the time when we met him originally, it was like actually he was a fully functional soldier that had a lot of heart and a lot of pain.
Alcohol
like your
can do
guy
that.
follows a code. He's a real serious warrior, and you were a scientist, and you're just always
I'm a Marine.
You're
No,
a
I
Marine.
care.
Hoorah!
Hoorah.
So it was really neat to see Nikolai as a real caring guy who loved his wife horribly and misses her.
That kind of that brings us on to
not my eighth wife, all made up.
One of the most fun topics for the entirety of Black Ops 3 was the recurring theme of death. Death. As you just described, we learned a little bit more Nikolai when we went to Stalingrad to recover his soul. That was so much of it. Steve, Dempsey was the first character to go through that experience, and it was a big shock to players when they found out that they were having to kind of kill off versions of their beloved character. As much as it was a shock to
me
you as well.
I don't think I found out till that day.
It's the best scenes though.
We've done that a few
favorite
times.
scenes.
So I mean. Nolan, we're going to talk about you in a minute.
Okay.
Because through that Black Ops 3, we pulled a little bit of a switcheroo. Richtofen was telling everyone, hey, you saw me shoot myself in the giant, I collected my soul, you've got to do all this. But we later found out that wasn't quite true. So we got the emotional scenes of Steve dying with dignity. Thank God he was asleep, otherwise he would have put up a fight. Takio, honor, very respectful, nice send-off. poor drunk Nikolai fought till the bitter end because of all his pain, as he said, some things are forgotten for a reason, but Nolan, Richthofen kind of got out of it a little bit up until recently, because what we learned through Black Ops 3 is that he was trying to keep everyone alive by cheating Dr. Monty, and that was why you were going to be trapped in a perpetual cycle. But when it came to the map Blood of the Dead on Black Ops 4, well, Richthofen finally paid the price, shall we say. And I think, don't know if you guys ever saw the full finish version of this, because you love Richthofen so much, I thought it might be worth actually just looking at that scene again.
I wish I could tell you I was sorry, Edward. But I'm not. No. No, you can help me. You're a doctor. Wait. Don't you know who I am? I have been witness to miracles and calamities. Dimensions born and collapse. I walk a path no other can take. No! I want to be me. Someone who did all the hard work! I wanted to keep going. This is me. My slightest heart. You won't even remember.
Oh shit, dude.
Damn, you're good.
Wow. No, he's good. I remember the craziest thing about that scene is the fan reaction. I think the last time we went,
my next question.
There were, I think, I saw it blow up on Twitter and different social media, and I think when next session I saw you, we pulled up all these things where people were like crying. It was like, I was the nicest one, and you won't even remember me. And it was just this, and it was just, and it just, we talk about the evolution of a character, just where people, I mean, he's zany, ridiculous, over the top, to something that can actually, have that emotional response to people. So I was like, wow, that was, I mean, and kudos to you. It was really well written. Really, it was fantastic. So
You should do this for a living.
you should.
I'm actually thinking of getting into a little bit of voice acting.
Well, he's not bad at that.
That's what people don't understand. He can do
He
everybody.
does all of our voices. Yeah.
It's very good. You don't even need us.
No, I do. You're
I said that on camera. Did I just say that on camera?
You did.
Actually, hang on, can we just... No, so I mean, talking about fans, Steve, did you get a similar reaction when people saw what happened to that incarnation of Dempsey?
I did. I'm still a little verklempt from what I just saw, but yes, I did. It was disturbing and profound and very unexpected, I think, and for me personally and for the fans.
Tom, you I know for a fact that having the two Takios speak the amount that they did, that was probably the biggest dialogue sequence between an old and a new version of Primus and Ultimus.
No, it was. I've done a lot of different things, but rarely have I done a specific scene that people reference. They come up to me. I mean, I'll be signing something for another character at another event, and they want to talk about Takio. I'm like, well, I'm not here to. They don't care. They want to talk about that scene.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Fred?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
The whole dialogue between what Nikolai says to Nikolai.
Yeah.
Like that you are beyond this. You're too much pain.
I think the thing that really made it work for me is, how we were saying earlier, so much of it early on was humor and just jokes, and the character's not super in depth. So to manage to get to that point where you're actually making people care on that level was something I'm immensely proud of. Everyone on the whole.
Yeah, it was my favorite thing to do. It was my favorite thing to do, practically.
It's a huge compliment to all of us.
Yeah. And again, the fans just really responded to that. They always bring it up. It's amazing. Always.